Jonathan Weinberg. Today I'm going to talk about I think a really nice pen. A lot of people have said that this is one of the best deals on in the pen world. This is the Majohn, or it's sometimes known as the Montblanc P136. And there are a group of pens that are sometimes referred to as clones of Montblanc pens. Sometimes people refer to them as clones.
It's possible we're seeing a scientific explosion comparable to the atom bomb or the moon rocket or DNA itself.
For many, it was a case of science gone too far.
And those terms are quite controversial, as some of my own viewers have pointed out. A clone or a fake pen is made to look exactly the same as its original, and often is used to fool people. And there are no other pen company that is so treated in that way, I would say, than Montblanc. I mean, this is why I'm very fearful to buy a used Montblanc pen on eBay, because there are so many fake Montblanc pens out there.
How do we know it's not a fake? It looks like a fake.
Well, one thing we know, you're no fake. You're a genuine idiot.
Thank you.
And there are even companies that don't say they're selling Montblanc. I think they refer to their pens as luxury pens, and they are actually often quite copies. Copies might be the right word, or forgeries. A forgery of a document is a document that is set out to fool you into thinking that it's real, often for a lot of money. Now, I have many good friends who collect Montblanc pens. They swear by Montblanc pens. They've inherited Montblanc pens. So I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to say things against Montblanc. I have a few Montblancs, a 1950s student pen, actually, that is really quite wonderfully, has great flex. And then I was given I think a pen from the 1970s that is broken, but I use it to show size of pen. And it seemed I don't really have a great experience. I don't have experience with that brand because it's so expensive. Now, the fact that you could buy a pen from China for under $10 that writes fairly well and works really well and is made of acrylic, and Montblancs will sell their pens for $1,000, suggests to me that there is quite a lot of profit in the pen world. Now, certainly a Montblanc pen is made much better than the $10 copies or imitations or homages to Montblanc. But in terms of the materials and how it's made and everything, is it really worth that much money? And my guess is that there's tremendous amount of profit there, and that's why it is worthwhile for people who make fraudulent things to imitate them, because it's expensive to make a copy of something, right? There has to be a lot of profit in it. And of course, I think there are some people, just like there are some people who have fake Rolexes or fake bags, is that unless you get really close up, who's going to know, right? Who's going to notice? Recently, there's just been a lot of attention and excitement about pens that are homages to, that's the word I would use, to certain more expensive pens. So there is the Jinhao X159, which you can see here, which looks like the Montblanc 149. It's a little different, it's a little bigger. Seems it's a little wider, but this is an older model, and you can see what this looks like when you And then more recently, there's the Jinhao Dada, which I just reviewed, which is a huge pen. And this pen looks something like, or looks quite like, a very, very expensive pen that I will never probably be able to afford, the Namika Emperor pen that I can only show in a photograph. And here is the Moonman P136, which looks like a Montblanc 146. So it's P136, but it looks like the Montblanc 146. And again, I don't have that pen, but I will show it here with a photograph. So Montblanc is one of those brands. But in the case of a pen that is basically cigar shaped or torpedo shaped, there are so many pens that look like this. It's a really ideal shape. It feels great in your hands. It goes back to the 1930s and really Art Deco. So in a way, you can't claim that Montblanc invented this kind of pen. And nobody is accusing Pilot of cloning Montblanc, so the P136 is looks closest to the Montblanc 146. Even the number implies a homage, but the pen says right on it that it is a Moonman. Now that part is the confusing part, because the company Moonman, for various reasons that escape me, I don't understand, but it has something to do with copyright, has changed its name to Majohn, and yet many of its products still are called Moonman, even ones that are clearly made recently. So I don't quite understand that. Somebody in copyright or understands the whole politics of that maybe can explain that to you. But this pen not only says that it is Moonman on the band, but the nib has is really actually quite beautiful nib, says that it is Moonman. There's quite a competition going on seemingly between Jinhao and Moonman and Majohn, although there are, it's very interesting what are the different relationships between these different companies like Asfine and Hongdin, and one suspects that maybe some of these companies are actually the same company, but again, I'm not going there. But anyway, there seems to be, a lot of discussion online between, is the X159 the pen to get if you want to get one of these inexpensive homages to Montblanc, or the more recent 9019, which I just reviewed, which is an homage to the Montblanc 149. And then there's this pen, the P136. I think, at least so far now, that this is the pen to buy. It is, however, more expensive. You can get this on eBay for under $30, while those two other pens I've mentioned tend to run, depending on who you get them by and what options you get, they tend to run $10, $11, $12, maybe a little even under that. So this is more expensive, but what this pen has is that it is a piston filler, and so it truly is like the Montblanc original that it is an homage to. The other pens use converters, and the Montblanc pen, the original, the 149 and the 146, both are piston fillers, and this is a piston filler. One thing that this pen, there was a lot of criticism when it first came out, is that it doesn't post. But guess what, folks? They listened and it posts. Initially, people said that it didn't post securely, but this one that I recently got posts really well. I don't have a 146, so I should say that. Now, one reason for not posting a lot of piston filler pens is that you can post them, but when you jiggle them, they turn the piston knob, and that is disastrous. Now, that's true, for example, of Navalar or Narval, however you're supposed to say it, that some of their pens will post, they're piston fillers, but if you post them and you inadvertently, which is very easy to do, you inadvertently turn the knob, you'll get ink all over the place. So I personally think that a pen that's the case with should not post. You shouldn't even let you post it. If you're going to have a piston filler that posts, like let's say the Pelikan M800, a whole Pelikan series of pens, Souverain series, they post, but when you turn, if you inadvertently turn the cap when it's posted, it doesn't turn the piston knob. And I think that's a kind of minimal design idea, that's something that really pen manufacturers should, I suppose, if they don't do that, at least warn you not to post the pen. Anyway, the other thing that I would say that I'm so excited about with this pen is that one of the problems for me with Chinese pens is that it has to do with their nibs. They always seem to write in terms of flow and ink flow. I never have a problem with any of the pens that I get from China, but often the nibs are scratchy. There seems to be sometimes quality issues with the nibs. And as a result, I tend to get number 6 or number 5 pens from China, and then I switch the nibs to, I've recently done this, from Goulet or from Gold Spot, a lot of places. You can get Jovo number 6 nibs and Jovo number 5 nibs, and you can switch the nib. Now, in the case of this pen, and you know, one of that, even when the nib is good, these pens only tend to come in extra fine or fine and medium, and they're more like Asian or Japanese fine and medium. They tend to be pretty thin, and I like thicker, broader nibs, particularly when I'm writing, and you can't get them in broad. But guess what? In this particular pen, the P136, they have introduced a stub 1.1 nib. And so that's what I ordered. And to my delight, the stub nib, at least on this model that I got, writes beautifully, like remarkably well. I am just completely surprised because stub nibs can be very scratchy, or they only have one little place where they write. This one writes like a dream. It writes like a really, really expensive pen. I can compare it to my Pelikan M800 that I recently got that has a stub, well, a cursive italic nib. So I am very, very pleased. I will say that looking at a lot of reviews online, that particularly for people who are getting fine and medium nibs, that there is some complaint that some of the nibs aren't as good. Like many piston fillers, I'm thinking of the Pelikan line, the nib is actually encased in its own little housing, so it screws out of the pen top, which is really great for cleaning the pen. And also you can buy extra fine and the fine, I think extra fine, fine medium Moonman nibs in this housing if you want to change it. So it just screws in and out. It actually has ink on it right now. So I'm going to get some ink on my fingers. And then you can also see the ink window, which is a really great feature, which of course is true of the Montblanc 146 as well, has that ink window, but it's nice to be able to see whether there's ink in the pen. Right now there isn't very much ink in it because I've been using it and writing with it and drawing with it. So I will do a writing sample of this pen, and I will do one of my flower drawings. I use it with purple ink, and then I color it in with a few other ink colors actually. And I think the stub nib is very delightful to draw with, so that I like the fact that you get a kind of, like kind of variety with it, and it's kind of accidental and expressive. So I think this makes a very good drawing nib. This is something I would say on these inexpensive, I'm not going to say cheap, pens from China, is the clips tend to be very tight. Um, this is a clip that is meant to look like a Montblanc clip. At least on my vintage Montblanc, the clip is not so tight. And you feel like it's so tight that if you pull it too much, it's going to actually break the pen. And then there's the issue, and I'm sure people will comment on this. How long will a pen like this last? Is a pen that cost under $30 going to last, 50 years the way a Montblanc pen would? Is this something you can, leave to your grandkids or your heirs? I'm not sure about that. But for this price point, this is the same price as a Safari um, uh, or a Pilot Metropolitan. I think maybe it's a little more expensive, but I think this is just a great deal. Uh, and strongly recommended. When you get it on eBay, like a lot of Chinese pens, it can take quite a while. Took well over a month, I think, to get to me. Um, Amazon does sell a lot of these pens, usually maybe for a $5 premium, and that might be a better way to get it. And also the advantage of buying it on Amazon is if you do get a clinker, if you do get a nib that doesn't write as well, then you can return it. And you can, if it says on eBay that you can return pens, but you have to. I don't know. I've never done that with a inexpensive pen that comes from China. I'm not sure how quickly you get your money back, and I tend to just fiddle with the pens or customize them. And one of my close fountain pen friends, in fact, always has his pens modified by a nibsmith. He just feels that that's part of the pen experience, and that can cost you 30, 40, 50, $60 on top of the pen that you bought if you have someone at a pen show, for example, um, modify the pen. And there are some stores that are some people online that actually sell pens from nibsmiths who have already tuned the pen to your specification, and that way you'll get a pen that often writes really well and also is customized to you, in the same way that somebody might do that with really good um, ice skates or something like that. And they just build that into the price. I feel like if you spend a lot of money for a fountain pen, it should write out of the box. And that's me. A less expensive pen I might spend time fiddling with, but I'm not sure that I feel completely comfortable yet doing that. Okay, so I'll do a pen. I will do a writing sample, as I always do, and you will see me do a little drawing. And please, as you know, the best way to support this channel is to subscribe. We're almost at 600 subscribers, and that's pretty amazing since only a year ago I had 30 subscribers, but we could use a lot more. So please subscribe. The Moon Man, or Majohn P136 stub 1.1 nib, and this is Waterman Tender Purple, and this is Rhodia 9 paper. And let's see, and you can see because it's a stub nib that it goes from very thin this way, but kind of like a medium, but very thick this way. And it flows very nicely. Nice flow. And the stub nib really is at least makes my writing look better, I think. Now, there's always going to be some feedback with a stub nib, but that said, this flows and writes very smoothly for a stub. It really is terrific, and it's as good as any Jovo's nib metal nib that I've used. Now, whether every pen that you get has that good a nib, I don't know. I mean, it seems from various reviews that people are disappointed with some of the medium nibs. The other things people say, well, it doesn't post, but it seems like the new models, the latest models do post. This seems to post to me quite securely. And at the same time, it doesn't turn the piston if you inadvertently turn it. Very nice. You can see the ink still. There's still some ink in the window where it's kind of running low. It's really a terrific pen for under $30.